good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever. My name is Jonathan Moore. I'm timing myself because I don't want to take up too much of your time. And two, I want to get straight into it. Before I do, just a little bit about myself, some of my credentials, letter of recommendation, certified as a massage therapist from Acupuncture Massage College here in Miami, Florida. Copy my transcripts, pretty good grades, A's, B's, a lot of passes for the pass-fail classes. Dean's Honor List, for Oriental Medicine. That's the program I'm in right now, studying Oriental Medicine, studying to be a physician. So that way you also know that some of your information is pretty credible. If not, by all means, do the homework yourself. Massage Therapy Dean's List Award. My Associates of Science degree in Natural Health. So once again, credible information. If you don't believe so, do your homework. What's this? Skincare. I'm also a certified esthetician. So once again, some of the things that we discussed today in regards to skin are also going to be involved in this. Also, my clock hours for the skincare program. Certification in Thai massage. Certification in Shiatsu massage. Certification in Qigong, Tai Chi, and Bagua. And although a very short stay from the University of Miami, you see it up here, Miami UM, 3.0, just to let you know, I'm an advocate of studying. HIV certification, I have awareness of it, I don't have it. If you think you may have it, by all means, please go see a doctor, get tested. And just some of my accomplishments. This was last year's Women's Impact Conference. I also did 2012's Jazz in the Gardens Women Conference also. So if you're interested in wondering where I'm at, you can also find me anywhere. You can find me at your house because I am a private practitioner. Unless, of course, you live out of state. Then, I'm sorry, you're just out of luck. But here's my information. Jonathan Moore, Lotus in Hand Therapy. This is my company. Alright, owner and operator, veteran, owned and operated, 5 years Navy service. Hoorah, can do. All my CBs out there watching this. Alright, and if you look on the back of this brochure, there's also a coupon in there and some information on myself, on the modalities, and also gift certificates. Hey God, I'm here for you. You need to contact me. Alright, so this brings me basically to what it is that this video is about. So within the next 14 minutes or so, I'm going to be going over some things in general about the human body, mostly surrounding what someone asked me to do. Someone asked me to briefly discuss some things that they can consider for a detox program. Now, while I go through this, I feel that it's very important that while most people want to, live healthier, cleaner lives, I think that's awesome. However, they need to understand, we all need to understand a little bit of information about how our own bodies work. So this guy up here, he's going to be joining us in a little bit to help out with our demonstration. But in the meantime, in between time, since this guy, you can't see his organs, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit of a diagram which should help you in regards to understanding what it is that's going on in your own body. Because, yeah, we want to do a detox, we want to fast, we want to have a healthier, cleaner, stronger body. But you can't do that without the knowledge and the information that comes along with knowing how these different systems and organs work. Or rather, from the most basic level, you have to understand what the cell is made out of. You have to understand from what the cell is made out of that when two or more cells are together doing the same job, that is a tissue. Tissues of the same function or similar functions basically make up organs. Organs that do the same function make up organ systems. Organ system in whole makes up you, me, your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousin, and that person down the street that you're not quite sure whether, in any case, whatever. Moving right along, we're going to get into this, okay? So here's a little bit of a crude drawing of the human body, but still a basic understanding, gives you a basic understanding of what we got going on. Now at the very top, You have your brain, your lungs on both sides of your heart. Here you have your diaphragm, which basically separates your lungs and your heart from the lower part of your body, which gets into your abdomen. Your abdomen consists of the liver, along with its partner, the gallbladder, the stomach, along with its partners, the spleen and the pancreas. Hello, that's my mom. And also, you have the kidneys, which are in the back, which is why they're written like this. But also, attached to the stomach, you'll also have the small intestines, along with the larger intestines, which will come out and attach to the kidneys through via the ureters. Is the bladder, which stuff comes out the front door, and of course, you know what this guy is. You know that's where it all comes out the back door. So, this is your system, okay? Now, what each one of these organs do, for the most part, is from top to bottom. The brain processes your surroundings, okay? It's sensory input. So sight, sound, hearing, taste, touch, smell, these things are all being processed by the brain. That's its major job, is to process what it is that we're experiencing from outside of our bodies. The lungs take in the oxygen that's outside of our bodies, obviously, process it so that way, and helps the heart oxygenate the blood so that way the heart can pump that blood out to the rest of the system. Okay, you want oxygen-rich blood. If you're not breathing, you shouldn't be watching this video. Alright, then you have after your heart, you have some of the other important organs. The liver filters blood. Okay, we're going to get very deep into the liver. Okay, it also produces the only pure substance in the human body, which is bile, which is made from fat. We'll get into that. The gallbladder, which assists the liver in storage of bile. The stomach, which basically secretes digestive juices or acids to help break down the food. The spleen, which helps to metabolize. The spleen doesn't help metabolize. The spleen's job is more of a lymphatic function, okay? It basically takes whatever bacteria or foreign substances or large substances that can't be broken down in the stomach. It takes those substances, breaks it down to a finer material so that way it can be processed by the liver, and so that the liver can also be working with the pancreas here, which a lot of people underestimate and leave out in regards to the whole digestive system. But if you're diabetic, you know very well that you need your pancreas, okay? So attached to the stomach is your small intestine, which basically absorbs the majority of your nutrition from your food, okay? Your vitamins, your minerals, your enzymes, okay? Then from after the nutrition absorption, it basically goes through this winding road, which is not very adequately drawn, but whatever, you know, work with me. All right, and from here it exits the small intestine and enters the larger intestine, which is, you know, on the lower part. If you look right up here on this guy, you see right here on this side is where the appendix would be, right here in this little spot. Okay, and from here, this is where a lot of the excess bile or fat that can't be processed by the large intestine, the small intestine, will go and just sit and wait until the large intestine clears out or excretes the fecal matter or whatever may be blocking the appendix. Okay, so the appendix, you know, which a lot of people take out, this guy does a very big job. It's very underestimated. And then into the large intestine, which its job is mostly to absorb moisture that's remaining and that's left over in the food, which will either go down to the bladder, okay, because your large intestine absorbs moisture and puts it straight into the bladder. But that's more or less a job for the kidneys. The intestines will send it over to will send it down to the bladder, yes. But for the other part, your fluid is processed in the stomach, and what the stomach is more or less processing solid matter, solid food, and so it takes whatever fluid and it separates it here in the small intestine. The small intestine really does the job of sending it over to the kidneys. or just down into the large intestines where it can be processed and sent into the bladder. But for the most part, the kidneys filter all fluids, all minerals and vitamins. If you're taking a multivitamin or a very unnatural B complex, it ends up here in your kidneys. And if you're not taking minerals, then we'll get into that. But if you're not taking your minerals that to help create a more complete matrix, cellular matrix, for your body to use those vitamins that you're taking, then, eventually a lot of calcification begins to happen, and so, or a lot of production of uric acid is created, and so that uric acid ends up in the feet, and then if you got itchy feet, you might be someone that's dealing with gout. Or if you just got achy joints, you've got symptoms of gout and possibly some arthritis. Once again, licensed massage therapist. You want a better understanding of what those things are, what those chemicals are doing. Either A, do the homework yourself, or B, go seek out the care of the assistance of a licensed primary care physician. So, with that being said, I'm going to also give you a very crude explanation of how this system works. The original explanation for this came from this diagram, the digestive system, which was provided to me by Dr. Campbell, who is also located here in Miami, Florida. The man is excellent. He knows his stuff. He's also getting some great results using diet and enzyme therapy to take care of a wide variety of degenerative diseases, cancers. In case, although this diagram is very good, and it's very, very simple to understand, I kind of complicated it, but made it a little bit more visually understandable. But if you can't understand my model, which I'll show you in a second, I'll come back to this. I'll go back over this after I go over my own model, which I gotta say I'm a little proud of. Okay, so here we go. Here's my model. I'm gonna hold this up real quick so that way you can get a good look at it. All right. And before I go ahead and start explaining what everything is, I just really want you to look at this. I'm gonna leave it up there on the here on the screen for a little bit in case you do need to come back to it, so you can trace things. You can pause it. You can watch how this whole system is interacting. All right. So once again, from top to bottom, and I'm gonna make this run through this pretty quick. All right. Is the brain. Now the brain is a greedy organ. Reason being because it accounts for 7% of the body's total weight. All right, 20% of the body's total oxygen, 25% of the body's total glucose. All right, I'm going to come back to that, explain some other things that go along with that. After the brain is the heart. The heart feeds the brain actually the majority of the blood. Well, not the majority of the blood, all of its blood. Okay. Then you have the lungs, which oxygenate the blood that the heart pumps into it first, which is usually deoxygenated. Well, yeah. Well, I'll just keep going. So the heart pumps blood, lungs oxygenate blood. Moving down, you have the liver over here. You have the liver, which produces that pure substance, that pure bile, which is a cholesterol, which is made out of fat. It emulsifies fats. It also helps break down fats in your food, along with the gallbladder. All right. Also, with the gallbladder, on the other side of the digestive system, you have the stomach, which works hand in hand with the spleen and the pancreas, to be exact. Okay. Now, the spleen, as we said, helps to process those heavy. It performs that lymphatic function of breaking down bacteria and foreign invaders, so that way the body can, process it smaller and put it into the digestive system, or the digestive system, and also the urine, the kidneys, and for the heavier stuff, and the bladder for the light stuff. Okay, and then the stomach, secretes those digestive acids to help break down the food matter that you're putting into your system. The pancreas secretes digestive enzymes for the stomach, really, but it puts those into another place. But I'll get into that in a second. The pancreas helps secretes pancreatin, which is a digestive enzyme for fats, and it also secretes insulin, which is necessary for digestion of sugars. Okay, moving right along. Then after the stomach, you have the small intestines here. The small intestines comes out of the stomach, eventually meets up with the jejunum before it goes into the appendix. After the appendix, you have your large intestine, which you have your ascending colon, your transverse colon, your descending colon, and your sigmoid colon until everything comes out the back door. All right, and then what else am I missing? Oh, your kidneys. Those guys, those are very important guys because they help regulate the pressure in your body, as well as in your pressure, meaning your metabolic pressure, meaning homeostasis, meaning your core temperature, meaning it's also involved in what's called the negative feedback loop, which I'll get into in just a second. And also, this guy is very important. All right, and I'll get more into that. You know, like especially for my dialysis friends. The bladder just takes the majority of the body's waste products and it pushes out of the system. Okay, it just basically just transforms waste out of the system. And that's that. That's basically its only function. So, how is this all going to affect the bladder or a detox? All right. Well, here I'm going to get into that just now, and the way that I'm going to get into that is by just briefly telling you about specifically, you know, two organs which a lot of people focus on in regards to a detox, but they really don't know you know, they don't really know much about it. Okay, so for starters, we're going to just briefly discuss the liver, which is functions is for detoxification, also protein synthesis, digestion, metabolism, glycogen storage, plasma protein synthesis, and hormone production. All right. Now, in regards to detoxification, your liver is very important, mostly just because, well, here, let me go back to the other diagram. The liver's job is very important in regards to detoxification, mostly because of its relation with the portal vein system. Now, the portal vein system takes the blood from those other systems, basically, when that blood goes to the liver filters it, and it cleans the blood of the fat that is put into the blood, mostly HDL, which is a high density lipid, and an LDL, which is a low density lipid. All right. Now, when those are processed, when those are processed, and then the liver goes ahead and with the bile that it's secreting, that fat, that pure fat that it's using, it pushes it into the common bile duct along with the gallbladder, which its only job is mostly just to store the excess bile that the liver produces. Okay, so with the gallbladder, it squeezes the bile into the common bile duct, in which case it meets up with the pancreas. Now, when that bile with those fats meet up with the pancreas, it stimulates the release of digestive enzymes, pancreatin, and it also triggers the secretion of insulin. Now, insulin is important because the majority of everything that you consume is always, for the most part, a sugar base. It's a carbohydrate. C6H12O2. Look that up, okay? Those carbohydrates are all sugars, and regardless of what kind of sugar it is that you think you're eating, whether it's processed, which is bad, especially if you think you're vegan, but I'm not going to get into, you know, the whole processed sugar and veganism. I'm going to stay in my lane, but I might just touch that real quick. So you got these sugars that are being produced or being produced by the stomach, or being broken down by the stomach, which is being absorbed into the liver because through the portal vein system. The liver breaks those, you know, breaks down the fats, combines it with the bile along with the gallbladder, sends it into the common bile duct, in which case the pancreas secretes those pancreatin enzymes, right? The pancreatin, which will also mix with the insulin, and it's the insulin's job to mix with the majority of the sugars that's put into the bloodstream, because your body needs the insulin in order to unlock any cell. Now, the cells of the body, I haven't really gone into that Yeah, but the cell contains something called the mitochondria, and it's in the mitochondria where the majority of all of your body's energy is produced. Okay, well, it's where the cell's energy is produced. Okay, the cell energy produced in the mitochondria then produces more another goes through a whole another process called gluconeogenesis, which is basically the process of forming sugars, so that way those sugars can go ahead and be, after mixing with the insulin, those sugars are going to be absorbed into the body. Your body runs on sugar. If that didn't make any sense, rewind it a couple of minutes, play it again until it makes sense. It'll make sense. All right. Now, after the insulin is secreted, what happens here is there's a doorway that's opened up between in the small intestines. That doorway being the duodenum. The duodenum opens up and releases the bile, the fat, with the insulin for the sugar for the breakdown of the fat, which I probably should make. I'll get into that in a second. And then after that enters the intestines, then the small intestine really can do its job of absorbing the nutrition, because one, that insulin is in there to break down the glucose, right? Or better yet, process those sugars better, so that way the body can uptake and send it back over to the liver, so that way proteins can be produced, which once again, protein synthesized in the liver, which, if you're curious as how to get your protein as a vegetarian or as vegans, listen. Apes and cows are some of the biggest mammals on the planet, and they don't eat meat. So where is it that they're getting their protein from? Think about that. Moving right along. So in the intestines, the small intestine absorbs the majority of those nutrition, and the majority of that nutrition puts it back into the liver through the portal vein system, which then pushes it to the heart via the inferior vena cava, which I haven't gotten to yet, but I'm getting to. So after that nutrition absorbed into the small intestine, it goes into you still have a lot of moisture present. That moisture mixed with food, will go into the large intestine, where that moisture will be reabsorbed by the large intestine, which will excrete a dry matter called feces, or your boo-boo. All right? Now, before I get further, let me also briefly discuss the function of the kidneys, which is, the function is to regulate the, regulatory rules in most animals, essential and urinary function, homeostasis, regulates electrolytes, maintains acids and base balance, and also maintains healthy blood pressure via the salt and water balance, and filters blood, removing waste, which is diverted to the bladder. The waste from that's produced in the kidneys, that's absorbed in the kidneys, is then sent into the bladder, which is not on this diagram. But if you remember my old diagram, from the kidneys, the waste that comes out of the kidneys goes through the ureters into the bladder, where it's excreted out of the body, okay, out the front door. So here we go. Moving right along, since I'm getting pressed for time, I'm still trying to keep your attention. Basically, what happens is anytime there's an impedance in the system, sickness, disease begins to set in. All right. Now, one of the most common diseases that we're seeing today, especially within our community, is a lot of liver related issues, diabetes for one. All right. How can I explain how that happens? All right. Well, I'm not going to go into explaining diabetes. I'm gonna let you go ahead and study up. But basically, how that happens is pancreas isn't being secreted because the liver is not getting its adequate blood flow. There's some type of there's a drying up in the system. Okay, mostly surrounding what goes on with the blood. Now, blood is important because blood is pretty much water. The majority of it is water. Okay. And the rest of it is like actual solid matter, okay, which is your cells, and also small mineral amounts of minerals and fats. All right, that's all in your blood. So whenever there's not a healthy supply of blood to or from these organs, right, the liver begins to get backed up. Let's say that let's take for example the stomach. Let's say that the stomach is not supplying is not giving up its supply of blood back to the liver. So what eventually happens is the liver begins to harden because it's becoming stressed from sucking through the veins, the straw from the stomach, all right? And so the cholesterol or the bile in the liver begins to harden. Now, when that bile begins to harden, it means that the liver is not going to supply the heart with an adequate amount of blood. Now, how the heart gets blood from the liver is through the inferior vena cava. From the inferior vena cava, if the liver is backed up, the only thing the heart can do is... And when it can't suck blood from the liver, it begins to suck blood from the kidneys. Now that's dangerous because if you don't know it, more people die each year. My time is just about up, but I'm gonna go in for 5 more minutes. More people die each year from renal failure than they do from heart attacks. So if you're on dialysis or you know anyone who's like having kidney stones or blockages, they need to start detoxifying their liver, because if this guy is not doing his job, these guys get overworked, okay? And that's basically the long and short of it. Now, once again, if this blood is being, if there's not a good supply of clean filtered blood, which is what the liver does, filters the blood, there's not a clean supply, adequate supply of blood coming from the liver, then what happens is, once again, the kidneys get overworked. But in order to better understand the overworking of the kidneys, this is what you should understand, is that one, the heart sucks the blood from the inferior vena cava from the liver and then oxygenates. It takes the oxygen poor blood, O3, carbon dioxide, or carbon. Well, that's a byproduct of respiration. But it takes the deoxygenated blood, pumps it into the heart, into the lung, to receive and mix with the oxygen that the body is that's going on through respiration that you're inhaling. Puts oxygen back in that blood, puts it into the other lung, so that way it's double oxygenated, then sends that blood to the heart, which then sends it to our greediest organ, the brain, and into the rest of the body. Now, one of the ways that you begin to identify the presence of dis-ease or disharmony is through sleep patterns, okay? It's one of what Chinese medicine considers one of the 3 joys, which is sleep, food, and believe it or not, sex. If you're not getting an adequate supply of either 3, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you have a healthy life soon, okay? But you got to get those. So in regards to adequate sleeping habits, right? If the brain does not receive its proper amount of blood, right? And what happens is it creates sensations or dreams of being chased or things that excite the heart. And once the heart becomes excited, that's basically the brain telling the heart, send more blood, send more blood. And so the heart begins to suck blood up from any organ that it can in the body. 9 times out of 10, it usually comes from your feet, your lower extremities, your legs, right? Because the majority of the bulk of your blood is produced in the larger bone tissue of the body. The largest bones being in the lower extremities. The femur is the biggest bone in the body. You know, in the lower part of the body, the humerus in the upper body, along with all these 108 solid bones, I want to say? No, that's not right. Moving on. But so if you know, people start to develop restless leg syndrome. Restless leg syndrome is the body's, you know, it's pumping. You know, that moving of the legs in the middle of the night is your brain pumping blood through the heart into the brain, okay? So that way you can get a healthy night's rest. But if you're experiencing restless leg syndrome, or TAT, which is one of my favorites, tired all the time syndrome, it's an actual clinical disease. Look it up. But if you're experiencing any of those, then that's basically saying that A, your liver's backed up, be, that extra palpitation or that sensation of fight or flight, that adrenaline rush, that anxiety that's being stirred up by the heart. That's your kidneys being overworked. Okay, that also says that your kidneys are being, they're more likely they're being they're intoxicated also. So into the detox, right? And then this should take up only a few more minutes of your time, and then I'll be letting you go. But in regards to a detox, some of the things that you can do is get a healthy supply of, get a good diet and exercise going, right? If you don't have a good diet and exercise regimen going, you need to see a nutritionist, a dietitian, or you can see one of my favorite people, Fanasha's Divine Essential. I have her business card around here somewhere, 786-203-2231, if I'm not mistaken. But she can fill you in on a wide array of healthy food options for to maintain a healthy diet and lifestyle. Okay, but just to give you some of the science, or some of the foods that what foods you should be looking into. You should be looking into your B complexes, your beta carotene, vitamin C, vitamin E, and you also want to be looking into some minerals such as calcium, copper, manganese, selenium, zinc, and sulfur. All right. Also, and that's pretty much just for liver function alone. Okay, that's just for improving the function of the liver. Some very good liver foods. If you want to address it from a TCM perspective, green is the color associated with the liver. So if you eat green foods, living green foods, meaning or dark leafy greens, or green fruit, these foods are really good for helping to detoxify the liver. Okay, and for the kidneys, what you should be consuming is pretty much a vitamin B6, B12. Once again, minerals, calcium, iron, and vitamin D, which is an essential, and you got to get that. Some brief information on the B vitamins. B2 is a riboflavin, which is an energy metabolism. It metabolizes fats and ketones, which are very important in the remission of cancer. Okay, so look into that. Also, carbohydrates and proteins are also metabolized by the vitamin B2. B3, niacin. If you've ever had to try and take a drug test, you're very familiar with the B vitamin, with the B3 vitamin. Okay, which is niacin. It increases HDL, high density lipids, which is good, and it lowers your risk of cardiovascular disease. That high density lipids, they're a fat, but they're a large fat cell, which when it comes across LDLs, which are small fat cells, it actually absorbs it and keeps on moving. Okay, so that HDL will clear the bad, or the low density LDL, the low density lipid, the low density fat out of the blood vessels. Okay, B6 is biotin. A lot of women are using B6 or biotin mostly because it helps to balance the sodium and potassium level and supports production of red blood cells and converts 5-HTP into serotonin, melatonin, and dopamine, which are your feel-good endorphins. Okay, HTP meaning hydroxytryptophan. Okay, so tryptophan meaning trip. You get it. Moving on. B12, which is a cyanocobalaminase, easily converts into any B compound. Alright, so wherever you're lacking, it's basically like an adaptogen, but I don't want to say it's an adaptogen because I don't want to confuse you. But it will synthesize, B12 will synthesize any of the other B vitamins that you are missing in your diet. So you want to get that. You also want to consider some folic acid, which is a water soluble, necessary to synthesize and repair and methylate DNA. What that basically means is when you consume bad food, your body begins to reproduce bad, or starts to create codes for bad information. It's a whole nother process. But yeah, homework, do it. As well as other biological activities and aids in rapid cell division and growth, which means that you want some folic acid. If you're suffering from sickle cell anemia, that means that you're not reproducing the best kind of red blood cells, and so you're going to want to take a folic acid or a B complex, mostly just because it helps your body produce healthier red blood cells. Deficiency of any B vitamin or folate will actually mean you'll start experiencing symptoms of diarrhea, shortness of breath, melatonin, malnutrition and atrophy of the limbs, so you'll get weaker. You actually start getting that little nasty turkey skin underneath your tricep. You know what I'm talking about. You also have, for women, you'll have complications with pregnancy. You'll also develop issues with, and this is just in general, for everybody else once again, but women, pregnancy complications, folic acid, you need it. Also, you're going to also develop mental confusion, forgetfulness, depression, swollen tongue, mouth ulcers, headaches. Yeah, I'm going.
Oh, I thought you said at 7.
It's at 7. What time is it?
When I came there, it was 6:10.
What time is it now?
6.
6:25. All right, real quick, I'm going to post this real fast, but I'm going to just run through the rest of this information because my mom just told me I got to make it to my appointment. Got to make it, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Got to go do some detox massage. Beta-carotene, precursor to vitamin A, which helps the intestines absorb vitamin E. Vitamin E is essential for skin. You know that. You know that. Because a lot of women are rubbing that vitamin E on. You know why? Because the vitamin E actually helps your body produce more collagen, and elastin, which means that you will not be experiencing them little, tiger claws. Wear your stripes proudly. Vitamin C, antioxidant, electron donor for enzymes needed for collagen production and to keep iron and copper ions in reduced status. Okay, that basically means you're going to, reduce means that there is no rust, okay? Whenever you lose oxygen, you have rust, whenever you put oxygen on iron, you get rust, okay? So that's oxidation. We're trying to reduce oxidation. So vitamin C is an antioxidant. It helps reduce oxidation. Without oxidants, oxygen. There you go. All right, vitamin E, we already went over it. For enzymatic activities, gene expression, you also want that vitamin E. That's good for babies, men and women, because half of one, to produce one, you need half from mother and father. So men, we need it too. Calcium builds healthy, strong bones and muscle contraction. Copper, a respiratory enzyme which is replaced by iron for hemoglobin. Hemoglobin can't use copper. But when the copper is present, then the hemoglobin actually begins to develop, and so iron jumps onto the hemoglobin. It's also what's responsible for the red color. Manganese detox of superoxide for radicals in organisms that deal with oxygen. Selenium, which is a component of antioxidant, is also a very strong immune builder. Okay. I read something a couple of months ago on this article on this population of Africans in Africa. Obviously, they're Africans, but they were resistant to HIV mostly because they had high concentrations or high levels of selenium in their body. So, think about that. Zinc aids in synthesis of proteins needed for transcription of DNA, which means zinc actually helps your DNA write the proper code, so that way you don't have, produce babies with Down syndrome, missing chromosome, or added chromosome, like you want that right. You want to synthesize, you want to produce the right kind of DNA. Sulfur, a component of all proteins responsible for mechanical strength, okay? So, that actually helps, along with your calcium, it helps gives you strength. Alright? Iron forms complexes with hemoglobin and myoglobin, which are common oxygen transport proteins. Vitamin D enhances calcium and phosphate, and this is an essential dietary vitamin, and it's not something that you can just consume. You can consume foods that have vitamin D, but the best source of vitamin D, get kind of naked, someplace private, and put your arms up and spread your legs, not in no gross way, but look like a starfish or something, okay? And you want to basically get some sun, some direct sun, which helps the body produce vitamin D in your armpits, in your chest, and all up in here in this groin region, okay? Because the majority of our issues in regards of cancers all take place in places where there's not very much oxygen. Whew, no, I smell good. But oxygen and sunlight. So you know, you're gonna want to do that. In the next the next one, I'll go ahead and get into some more or less what it is my speciality is, which is the massage portion. Thank you for sticking with me. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Once again, Lotus in Hand Therapy. I'll show you the massage stuff the next time. Thank you very much. It's a message of peace, a message of love, a message of equality and good health. So, with that said, thank you very much. Have a great day.